Hello there, dear listeners. Marcos here, and welcome to this installment of the LTS Out of Office Solo Edition. And today, I want to rant. I want to stand on this soapbox and talk about books and movies specifically. I was talking with my coworker, his name is Benny, and he was saying that, how he likes movies and all those things. And I was saying, have you ever heard about Jurassic Park? And he said, yes. Did you know? And my boss Ed also said that that was a good movie when it came out in the 90s. And I was saying, did you guys know that there was a book based off? The book was The Origin by Michael Crichton, something Crichton. Anyways, he was saying that. Did you know? I was telling them, did you guys know that there's a book originally that sparked the book or the movie, if you will? And they were saying that, well, Ed, my boss, he did know. And I said that, yes, there's a book originally. And I would dare to say that the book is better. And Benny was like, nah, is it? The movie is a phenomenon. It's phenomenal. It's great. And I said, even with that, dear listeners, with how good the movie was or is, the first one, by the way, we're still talking about the first one. We expanded on the lore, the different islands, and all those things about the movie. And I said they explained all that in very meticulous detail in the books. And he said, how? Why? Again, and I was saying that 9 times or a higher percentage of the time, the books are going to be critically more popular, or even they're going to have a higher, the readers that read the book are going to very going to be very fanatical of the book, because that is the intention of a book, to create a fan base, to get intertwined, enthralled in that universe, in that world of the book that the writer created, if you will. Obviously, I'm visually impaired, and I said that I heard this via the audiobook. Obviously, my boss and I and Benny are also visually impaired, and I was saying, have you heard about Amazon? Again, this is me not being sponsored by Amazon or by Audible. I said, let's check if it's on YouTube. 9 times out of 10, there will always be an audiobook version online, specifically on YouTube. And guess what, dear listeners? We did find it. We did find the audiobook on YouTube. And I was telling him that you're gonna love the book. The style that the book wrote, the movie was like an adventure, you surviving the monsters and all those things, a force of nature, versus in the book it was more like you dead, you run into a dinosaur velociraptor, it's donezo, rip for you, because it's a force of nature that was designed to kill anything not alone, as a team. We saw a glimpse of that with the hunter Muldoon, I think his last name was, when they hid how he got taken out by the raptor in the movie. I don't think we get to see that. I don't think we see that, but we see how we see the aftermath of how the velociraptors took out the offices, the place where the guy says, the computer, you didn't say the magic word, and all that area, how it gets wrecked by pack animals, aka the velociraptors. And in the movie, we see the aftermath of why everything got abandoned and all things. But in the book, it was beautiful. The chief engineer that Samuel L. Jackson portrayed, we see what happened to him in the book. How he's surviving, he's ducking and weaving in the hurricane, in the rain, in the dark, to restart the power of the park in order to gain control over the paddocks that were in the same circuit as the building. And that in itself was an adventure, but ends up losing the fight because he gets taken out by velociraptors in the night that can see in the dark, versus the guy, the engineer. He couldn't. He knew the park inside and out because he was a chief engineer of it, but he was no match to the forces of nature. In the movie, as you all know, spoilers, he died as well. We only see the remnants of his arm when the lady archaeologist, I forgot her name, but we see the remnants. We don't see him die. We only know that the arm is left. What else? We also see the other difference was the female scientist or archaeologist and the chief archaeologist in the beginning of the movie, they are more closely related closer in age, but technically in the book they are farther in age. It was seen that Dr. I forgot Allen or something like that. He was of an older age. He was up in his 60s, in his late 50s, versus the young archaeologist that was learning under him it was in her early to mid 20s, and she was like an intern trying to learn the ropes of archaeology, versus in the movie they were both like these mid 30s, the lady, and he was like in the mid 40s. So there was still a gap, but there was more room for there to be a potential relationship that, again, me as an adult now can understand, but as a kid flew over my head. In the book, there was no doubt in your mind. Obviously, as an adult now, you can understand that there can still be a relationship between those two. But in the book, they tried to, personally, what I understood, no chance of the professor or the chief archaeologist having a relationship with his apprentice who was a lot younger by X amount of decades. And the mathematician, the one that gets bitten by the T-Rex that they rescue in the movie, he also gets rescued in the book. And again, there was also that sexual relationship, or that flirting, if you will, tension. There was a flirtatious attitude that he had in the movies that we all witnessed. If you saw the movie, the first movie, I feel like he's portrayed very accurately, and it is that one I felt was more closer to the book. What else? The velociraptors in the book were seen more as a threat. The moment that we don't see them escape their cage like in the movie, we see the remnants of them breaking the cage, and they were talking about testing the fences. They don't do the cow scene in the book. What else? Again, you probably also know that the book shows at the beginning how there's a girl that gets killed by little dinosaurs. Allegedly, there were a lot of, like a piranha swarm. She got taken out. In the book, we know that those little guys technically are poisonous and can immobilize the person and kill them just by swarm tactics. But in the book, that is explained. They explain that when they found the body, not like when the parents in the second movie specifically, they find the little girl and she got taken out because she was giving bread and pieces, because they were on a yacht and going around the world. In the book, they explain that she same opening there in the yacht and everything, but she gets taken out via not only swarm tactics of the little dinosaur, I forgot the names, Doplosaurs, whatever, I don't know, it doesn't matter, but they also have poison in their saliva when they bite, meaning that they immobilize their prey. Thus, the girl got taken out via paralysis and getting eaten. But yeah, anyways, that was that book that I was talking to them. I was again in the coffee shop, and the customer also said, "Did you know also that the movie Jaws has a book, which also is a good book? It's a lot more gruesome." We searched if there on YouTube if there's an audio version about the Jaws book. There is, dear listeners. YouTube has a lot of things, dear listeners. That's another thing that I want to impart on you. You can search for knowledge, you can search for entertainment, you can search for books. In this case, it was also entertainment. I am willing to bet that the audiobook in this case is also more detailed. The opening on the first Jaws from the 1960s, I think there were the girl gets killed, or gets ended, right, because a shark attack. In the book, I listened to the first 4 minutes. Within the first 2 minutes, they explained that a body appeared, that only the head and part of an arm appeared in the audiobook, which sets a precedent, a tone, if you will, to the story. Why though? That's my question to you, dear listener. I want you to think about that. Why are books 9 times out of 10 more memorable if you read it or if you listen to it? I have a lot of books and audiobook. I have a playlist on YouTube that are not on audiobook, that are fan made, that I also highly agree that they're pretty good. Harry Potter has an audiobook. Let me see some details real quick, And let me do this in post real quick. I'm gonna do some quick searches to explain to you why books are more memorable, if you will, compared to movies. Let me check real quick. Be right back. Okay, found them. I got them into bullet points, dear listeners. It says, unveiling the depths. Books dive deeper into characters, themes, and worlds. I can attest to that with I listened to World War Z. I read the Harry Potter book, Ender's Game I also read. I also went into it's a huge world, Lord of the Rings. Okay, let's continue reading. Books dive deeper into characters, themes, and worlds, offering a richness that movies often can't match. Understandable, they're in a certain time limit. Some of the movies have 3 hours. Lord of the Rings made a franchise out of I think one book and The Hobbit, and it's awesome. The imagination, your story. Reading sparks a personal journey, letting you, the reader, paint your own interpretation of the narrative. So yeah, even me talking to you, I am guiding the path, versus when a writer, he has to create a world. You have your certain imagination, your limitations, your higher abilities to imagine things, versus me telling you this is a box on a purple chair. They have to describe all that on the books, which I can consider myself not to be very good at, even though I'm talking to you right now. Next point, savor the moment. Books allow you to set your own pace. There you go. Pausing for effect, and to reflect, and truly immerse yourself in the story. Yeah, I can attest to that. The book in Ender's Game, I really wanted to hop around back and forth when I was reading it in high school, but there was a chapter that caught me when it was at the beginning, how Ender was violent towards a bully, but very precisely violent, and that enticed me to go back and just read it from the beginning, and I don't regret doing that. Next one, the power of language. Evocative prose and stylistic artistry create a deep resonance with that movies often lack. I want to say I'm a little bit against it, specifically in The Lord of the Rings, but I can understand it, because The Lord of the Rings, really, the director had a lot to do, and the team that was with them had to do a lot to make me like that world, and that was described in some creative imagination on the director. But the book, there's a standard that I feel like is very specific. And now the last bullet point is beyond the screen. Books offer an unparalleled experience, transitioning visual a spectacle and engaging your mind in a unique way. Agreed. I can imagine the war on Gondor, the vocabulary that they used. It's incredible. The scene that we see, you'll have to toss me, or the Horn of Gondor, or the scene where Legolas is fighting in the orcs in the first movie, or the other guy, Ildisor, or the gentleman that gets taken out by the orcs in the end of the first movie. Like the hobbits, I protected them as much as I could. Are they safe? That's an epic scene, but the book's chef's kiss. Now another one, unraveling the depths. An example for The Lord of the Rings. In The Lord of the Rings, the intricate history and lore of Middle Earth are meticulously explored in the books. Yes, there's actually many books, by the way. So while the movies streamline the narrative for time constraints, you go at your own pace and the world expands to your pace, which is a beautiful thing, dear listeners. World War Z expands World War Z is upon the human struggles and global perspective of zombie apocalypse. And this is the book, by the way. Whereas the movie focuses on a more action-oriented plot. Yeah, a lot of people like the movie, but people who saw the book or read the book first before watching the movie are like, This is low grade compared to the book, which was Chef's Kiss. A lot of people don't like that genre, but when this came through that there was a movie coming out, sales for the book just skyrocketed just to read it. Or Hunger Games was another one, by the way. Your imagination, your story. In Harry Potter, there you go, dear listeners. Harry Potter is another one. I knew it. Readers create their own vision of Hogwarts. Yeah, I think of myself as a Disney castle, but magical with school stuff. And it's magical inhabitants, while the movie offers a visually stunning but singular, directed, railroaded, if you will, interpretation, which can be good and bad because you get used to it, you get bored. Or versus in your head, you can always add more stuff the more imaginative or the more experience you gain throughout your life. The book can have different flavors versus the movie. It's always going to be the same. The internal fears and personal connections to the monster in it. Lord, that's another one. The TV series, the movie that recently came out, all that book was, I remember my English teacher, no, English? Yeah, I think it was English or something about like a senior. It wasn't English, but she was saying that whenever she first came across the book and started reading, she couldn't stop, but at the same time she had the nightmares. In the movie It, okay, hold on, let me start again. The internal fears and personal connections to the monster in It are more deeply explored in the book. Of course, they have to be, allowing readers to form their own unique understanding of the terror. Yes, don't get me wrong, in the movie, they show you kids dying, eating, all those things. That's scary on its own. But there was a mental game that the movie couldn't portray, or the TV series in the 90s. Still very good, very great actors, but the movie was in a unique place that I feel like is timeless. Savor the moment. The emotional weight and internal conflicts of characters in Ender's Game, there you go. But this one is a good movie and a book, even better book, I'd say, are given ample space to develop in the book, whereas the movie's pacing leaves less time for introspection, understanding, developing an opinion, an image of Ender, of the general, of the director, of classmates even, of the scene of where Ender's going to do his fights. The vastness and wonder of Middle Earth in The Lord of the Rings can be truly appreciated at the reader's own pace. Yes, sir. Yes, I agree. That's what pulled me to Lord of the Rings. Unlike in the movie, a swift journey through the landscape. Yeah, the scene when they're running to chase the orcs at the end of the first movie, priceless, but at the same time, the book must have expanded more on that area of them trying to survive and trying to get from point A to point B when they ran by the horsemen in Gondor, I think. The eloquent prose and rich description in The Lord of the Rings transport readers to another world, while the movie relies on visuals and music, yes, which is a business on its own, thus the movie, to evoke a readers to another world. It isekais them, it transports them, while the movie relies on visual and music to evoke similar atmospheres. Yes, the vastness, the seriousness of Lord of the Rings, I can feel it with the music director and the special effects, or the effects in general, the theater effects even. Okay, the intricate details and scientific explanations in the world of World War Z create a sense of realism and suspense that the movie's action sequences may not fully capture. That scene in the World Health WHO, in the CDC area, when they crash landed, not the same as in the book, because in the book it's like 10 years beyond that the zombie epidemic or pandemic. People were already surviving, growing, adapting beyond than just surviving. They have their backstories. Very good book. Beyond the Screen. The complex moral dilemma and philosophical questions explored in Ender's Game resonate more deeply in the book, inviting readers to ponder, to think deeper, for longer even, the implications long after the final page. Yes, I did. It actually inspired me just in the first chapter to go and reread the chapter, not just skim it. The epic scope and intricate tapestry of The Lord of the Rings are best experienced through the written word or audiobook, dear listener, because I'm visually impaired, allowing for a truly immersive journey through Tolkien's world. And we all know that Tolkien was a veteran of, I think, World War I. But yeah, overall, the examples that I previously mentioned demonstrate the unique strength of both mediums, offer visuals, special effects, spectacles that really put me in the movie theater. Even me not being up there visually, I can still appreciate it. And emotional impact, and also the music. I have the soundtracks on the playlist on YouTube. While books provide depth, nuance, they explain in other words basically, and the freedom to shape your own experience by comparing specific scenes and themes, specifically with these previously mentioned stories. I can see how each adaptation enhance and or reinterpret its sources material of what's it. For example, like in Ender's Game, the scene in the of them doing the virtual video game, if you will, is not the same in my head as the way that they interpret it in the movie, or the chase scene in Lord of the Rings at the end of the first movie in the Fellowship, that it was broken, but they never gave up. They were separated, but the Fellowship never gave up. It basically, all these works, may that be books, movies, anime, manga, invite us to appreciate the power of both storytelling and art. Detail the inspiration of these, I want to say art, of these art forms, if you will. And it really wants me to always keep going deeper. I want to listen to or read the Dark Tower series because it's the same writer as Dune. I want to get into Dune more. There probably is a Cyberpunk, even though it's just an animated series. There's a lot of comics with DC, dear listeners. So if you have a favorite book, novel, series, manga, I don't know if you like doujins, but the running joke is that I like doujins. There's a lot of content out there to be consumed. May that be via animation, special effects, theater, books, because there's a lot of books that become theater plays, and there's a lot of plays that become books, and so on and so forth. So my question to you, dear listeners, what intellectual property do you want me to listen or to watch or to consume? And we can create a conversation. For me, to you, dear listeners, I want to leave you with The Lord of the Rings, with World War Z, Hunger Games, and with anime. What's an anime that I would like to recommend you? If you can watch Konosuba, if you like the laughs, if that's your style, that Japanese series, it's a light novel and an animation. It's called Konosuba. With that, dear listeners, my name is Marcos. You know where to find me on the social medias of Instagram, Twitter, or X now, and or on YouTube. So, any comments? You know where to get at us. And remember to subscribe on your favorite podcast catcher or on YouTube. So, from the bottom of my heart, Marcos Lopez and the LTS Squad Solo Edition right now is out of here. Stay frosty.